And we are live.
Yep. I forgot to share this. So, welcome to THS Discourse. And we're here going to talk about Scream, the series, the possible 5 that may happen. I only say that because, most movie projects are on hold right now. But, news never stops. Tonight we have Seth with us as usual. Jared is here since 2016.
Hello.
Nathan Thomas Milliner. And I don't know which one. Stu? You're more of a Stu, I think. What do you guys think?
I'd say a little bit more of a Stu.
I think it's Randy Meat. So.
Oh, Randy never died.
I'd say Mrs. Loomis.
Same haircut. Anyway, that is Keith under the Ghostface mask. I think we may not find out till the end. It may be his fiance. Who knows? Keith could be in the costume standing behind him.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for joining us. We're here. This is, I think, our 19th episode, something along those lines. And excuse me, we just did our top 100, and I completely bitched about Scream being number 3 on the list. And no regrets. I believe Scream is a top 20 horror movie for sure. But the last few days after what got us, I guess last week we found out that Neve Campbell is in talks to reprise her role as Sydney in a Scream 5 movie. That got me excited for some reason, so I just flew off the handle, decided we're doing a Scream episode next. I was really, really excited about getting the chance to watch the series again. And I don't know that I've watched all 4 of them within a couple of days before. I used to watch 1 through 3 all the time, way back before there was even a 4. And it was kind of nice to come back and, as I said to you guys, kind of see old friends again in a way. A lot of these characters are around my age, and watching them kind of grow up in these movies a little bit was pretty cool, especially the 3 main stars, even though 2 of them were basically adults, with Courtney Cox and David Arquette. But anyway, enough about me. How are you guys doing tonight? You feeling safe?
Yeah.
So far.
The safest of us all, well, I should say the least safest is Ghostface over there, because usually Ghostface meets his demise by the end of the movie. Yeah. Whichever 5 or 6 or whatever there are. I got a question. Do you guys know in each movie who does each murder? That's something I was thinking about while I was watching it. Like,
I was thinking about that definitely with the first one.
Yeah, who I know that in 2, Randy, that's got to be Mrs. Loomis. Spoilers ahead if you've never seen Scream, and if you haven't, it's been almost 25 years. But I was thinking about that a lot, like who's killing who. And obviously, there's only 1 and 3, But like, you ever think about that or not worry about it?
I was thinking about it when I watched 4 just now. Sorry, I'm not at a con and it's too hot for this shit.
Yeah.
No, I was thinking about that when I was watching 4 just now because, or wait, was it 4? Yeah, it was 4 because, I mean, she's just a teenager. But I also thought about it more in part 2 because it's Randy's mom, and I mean, how fucking strong is Billy's mom? Sorry, how strong is fucking Billy's mom to be able to yank Randy into a van?
Well, I heard they mentioned that one of them is left-handed.
Oh.
So you could, if they're killing with their left hand, I think it's Miss Loomis.
Okay.
Mrs. Loomis.
Well, she held the gun with her right hand, though.
I don't remember. I just read something in like the trivia about one of them is left-handed, so that's how
little things you can notice.
Well, also, I'm sure Mickey is a lot bigger than she is, and
I just assume he did all of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think he did all of them except for maybe Randy.
Well, she said she did Randy because she's like, I got a little stab happy because he wouldn't shut up, and I'm like, how fucking strong are you?
Well, Randy is scrawny.
I mean, true.
He's probably like 90 pounds soaking wet. That was the most heartbreaking scene in the entire series for me. I love Randy. He's probably my favorite character.
Yep.
But it was a great scene, especially whenever she was ragging on him. He just goes, "Fuck you!"
I love the fuck you.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah, I love it. And I mean, rightfully so. He got right by that van, and you knew that the best part was like, you know, the van's rattling around. You see the guys with the boombox walking by. That's a pretty cool scene. And then Dewey and Gail are out looking for people on cell phones, which is funny because it's super rare then. But nowadays, everybody's got a cell phone in their hand.
I didn't think about that. Yeah. It'd have been like Raiders of the Lost Ark looking for Marion in the basket.
Yeah. Well, they tackled that one guy. I mean, Dewey jumps off of like a cliff almost and tackles that guy. And I never noticed before, but he was talking to his mom on the phone. I heard him say, "I'm okay, Mom." I've never heard him say that before. Must be that great surround sound I've got going on at the house.
I'm okay, Mom.
But anyway, I had all these ideas of how to open the show and what I wanted to say, and I forgot every single one of them. But yeah, I really did kind of rekindle my love affair with the Scream series and most of the characters, and seeing. I think it's been a long time since I probably showed my son a few years ago the first one. He dressed up as Ghostface at Horror Hound 2017, and everybody wanted a picture. He was like a little kid dressed up as Ghostface, and everybody, "Can I get a picture with you?" It was so he thought he was the biggest star in the world at Horror Hound. It was pretty awesome. But ever since I showed him, he loves them, and apparently he watches them without me. I had no idea because he was like reciting words or lines from the movie. I'm like, Jesus, dude, when was the last time you watched these? It's like, oh, I watch them all the time. They're on boot. We have them on our digital streaming service. So. Anyway, Scream 1. Let's start there. What do you think?
Best of the series.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, it's a landmark film. It revitalized horror. I mean, even though we got some, teen movies after that, they weren't all so bad. I liked Urban Legends, and at the time,
it's one of the best movies of the last 25 years, in my opinion.
I mean, well, horror was dying in the mid '90s.
In horror, I should say.
I mean, it would come back at some point, but Scream was the one that helped bring it back. Let's talk about Scream. Anybody have anything they want to jump in on? I've been yapping the whole time, so
I'll say a little. It's just a little snippet from Scream, but a thing I realized, and I don't think I ever really realized on Scream 1, whenever Billy and Stu are looking for Sydney in the house, Billy hears the scene from Halloween in the background of the closet scene, which makes him think to look in the closet, and I never even put that together in my head until just yesterday when I watched it.
It's funny because I thought about that too. It's like a secondary score almost, because you can still hear Halloween going on in the background.
Yeah, but he's such he knows what it is. Like when he hears it, he's like, "Oh, closet."
It's triggering things just like Halloween did. That was really cool. Yeah. Okay.
Other than that, I I mean, I watched the. I didn't get to watch both the documentaries that comes in the bundle pack with Scream. I got to watch uh, the one that's not called Still Screaming. I don't remember the name of it.
Inside
Yeah,
Story.
Inside
Yeah,
Story.
Inside
Yeah.
Story.
Was that made for TV or something? Because I.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
they did a series of films for.
Okay.
Was that what channel was that on? Because I feel like I watched that on TV. Was it like
Probably Entertainment or
something? Yeah,
Bravo or A&E or something.
looks like something Gail Weathers may have produced. It's not bad. It pretty much covers the entire series, or I mean the entire first movie. The thing I keep thinking about was I kept calling it Scary Movie, and it was driving me crazy. 'Cause I
Yeah.
know the story behind it, obviously, but it's like, could you imagine if this was still called Scary Movie? What would they call Scary Movie? If this, I'm glad they went with Scream, even though they're.
Yeah, Scream was definitely, the better title.
Yeah.
I don't know. This movie makes it into my top 10 horror films. I don't know if anybody else has it in their top 10, but
No, not top.
I think
10.
I had it in my top 25 of all time.
I mean, I had so much fun with this. I think it's a movie that has everything you could ask for. It has horror, it has comedy, got a love story, it's got great characters. I thought it was at the time probably the perfect date movie.
Yeah.
And the thing that gets overlooked about it, and
If I was old enough to go out on a date, I definitely would have took a date to that movie.
Yeah, I was still in the womb, so I can't really say anything.
I was 20, and it was Christmas night. Me and my brother-in-law went because we both worked third shifts at UPS, and so everybody was asleep. So let's go see this movie, and it was a packed theater at a midnight screening, and one of the best experiences I've ever had at a theater. It was just the crowd just reacted to everything, laughed, screamed. It's the kind of audience you wanted a horror film, and walked out at 2 a.m. just energized and not tired at all, excited and obsessed. I became obsessed with the movie. Really, I just loved everything about it. I thought it was because horror it was dead. It was just a
very stagnant.
Yeah, it was just. I mean, they were good. They were good things. Every time I say the '90s was kind of slow, it wasn't. There were good movies, but there was no buzz or energy in the genre anymore, like it was in the '80s. It was the slashers, especially, had died, and
An '80s hangover.
And the thing is, this movie was the ultimate love letter to that. I mean, it really is. Kevin Williamson's obviously a diehard fan of the genre. And it was smart. It was, to me, I didn't get why horror fans didn't embrace it as much. I mean, they did, but a lot of people rejected it. And I think probably because it was popular and mainstream.
Yeah.
But it was the ultimate love letter to the genre that we all love.
Yeah.
It was aware. It was smart. It was funny. I don't know if they thought it was making fun of it, although they don't really. It's they poke fun. The characters are aware of these things and these tropes and these cliches.
Almost parodying themselves.
Yeah, but then they do the same shit. They they run up the stairs. They all these things that they do, but all the little things like don't ever say I'll be right back, and then Stu like I'll be right back. Now I mean it's just great moments like that, great dialogue, great. I mean it goes into that era of Tarantino, Kevin Smith, Richard Linklater, where the dialogue was kind of king in some ways. Characters probably spoke more eloquently and faster and smarter than people did. A lot of movie references.
Yeah.
I don't know how many movies are referenced in the film. Probably at least 24.
How many times Sharon Stone was mentioned?
Yeah. Well, I mean, how many movies are mentioned in The Town That Dreaded Sundown and Prom Night and I mean,
Wes Carpenter.
Like, yeah. I mean, it was like totally horror fan, centric and
horror nerd.
Yeah,
horror geek,
and
whatever you want to call us.
And people, I think a lot of people would, over the years, people would like attack it. Well, because they had TV stars and the people were good looking. Well, like what Johnny Depp wasn't good looking and Kevin Bacon wasn't good looking and all these people weren't. And a lot of them, I mean, yeah, Nev was on TV and Courtney was on TV, but a lot of them were unknowns. And I mean, Rose McGowan's no, teeny bopper chick. I mean, she was in Doom Generation before this, and anybody who's seen Doom Generation knows that she's coming from another area of cinema. And
Totally different.
Matthew Lillard's coming off of Serial Mom. He just worked with John Waters, so he's not like just a teeny bopper kid. I mean, these were just good performers, good actors. And I could go on and on, so I'll let other people go. But I just loved it.
Matthew Lillard didn't even. It was in that Inside Story that he didn't even come for auditions. He was doing another audition across the street, and one of the casting people just saw him walking, and it was like, "You're coming in here to do this," and he's like, "Okay."
Oh, his girlfriend was a casting agent or something there. Across the hall, I think is what it was.
He was taking her lunch, and he even says, I don't know what the real story is, but he said he actually read for Billy also. Yeah. So
that's not surprising.
That could have been. I mean, he's a stew.
They definitely do that with those type of people. They'll make you read for either or.
Yeah, and I like the way. I wish he was actually one of my favorites in the movie too. Stu, the way he. You better live her alone. Just little weird lines in the movie store when he's making fun of Randy, when Randy thinks he has a chance.
Oh
with
man,
and he's like,
that,
no.
his reaction to no, I don't. Oh no, that scene was just so fun.
It's hard to think somebody else doing something like that, you know.
Yeah, I mean, laughs he makes. He's like, Paka!
Yeah.
Yeah. You die.
Definitely want somebody I would love to come back. You know, he's in part 2 also. Like, he's in the background somewhere. Like one of the part. Yeah, I saw that in one of these documentaries. I watched those also. Still Screaming in the Inside Story by Gail Weathers. Good stuff. Seth, you got anything you want to say about Scream?
Yeah, I mean, I was
awesome looking hoodie.
I was 13 when it came out, and it was kind of a surprise hit that just took everyone by storm. You know, professional outlets were declaring it to be dead on arrival. You know, it wasn't expected to do anything. And that was something that everyone was talking about for a long time. You know, I remember the summer it came out on VHS, you know, my brother and a couple of neighborhood kids would ride their bikes down to the store and rent it, and we would just watch the shit out of it. It's a great movie. There's one, I was kind of alluding to this in our chat the other day. There was one little minor issue that I have every time I watch it. And so the entire movie, all the characters assume that there's just one killer throughout the entire movie. And then the third act begins, and you know, Billy's death, and then Sydney sees Tatum's body, and then she runs into the news van, and she sees on the camera Ghostface behind Randy, raising the knife before her scream distracted the killer. But a little bit later on, when Randy and Stu are kind of yelling for her, and she's backing into the house, she says, "Fuck you both," and slams the door. I don't understand why she did that to Randy. I understand Stu because his whereabouts was unaccounted for by her.
Oh, because you saw Randy on the screen with the ghost face.
Right.
Well, maybe she didn't. Also, maybe she didn't realize that he was in danger. Maybe she thought that they were in cahoots because he's still alive. And
yeah, but
like that
wasn't
scene,
there like a 30-second delay on that too?
Yeah, that was a great detail too. That 30-second delay with Kenny getting killed the way he does, because I mean it's just so many brilliant moments in this film, and I love that scene where Stu and Randy are trying to convince Sid that it's him. No, it's him. It's him. Like, that is a amazing scene. And Sid stayed just like, "Fuck you both," and slams the door. It's like, this movie is just filled with that kind of energy and amazing little moments. And and that's one thing about this film that separates it from slashers. It is a murder mystery, because most of slashers
are like Friday the 13th.
Well, Friday the 13th wasn't really a murder mystery because we just thought it was Jason the whole time. But nobody was like, "Oh, it's you. Oh, maybe it's you, or maybe it's you." Everybody is like,
there was really no red herrings.
Yeah, there was no red herring. That's where Friday the 13th kind of fails, because they just throw Miss Voorhees out of their ass in the third act. oh, here's this lady. And but the thing is, like in Scream, these kids are surrounded by people who may be the ones doing this, who like their best friend, their boyfriend, their dad, the sheriff, or their brother, whoever. They may be the killers, and I don't think we've had that before. And they literally set up everybody, and they do it so much where if you watch the movie, it's obviously Billy, but they constantly make you think it's not Billy, because I mean, Skeet is sinister all the way through the movie. You watch his performance.
He doesn't smile at all. He looks psychotic throughout the entire thing.
I thought Stu was pretty obvious, though, too, right from the beginning.
He is obvious, but it's almost like he's part of this. That's another cool thing about the film is either kids are aware, so they're thinking this is actually kind of cool. Like there's no respect for human life kind of thing. That kind of what some kids are like that. They just laugh it off. And so you kind of think, okay, Stu's too obvious, but at the same time you think Stu's too stupid. Because Stu wouldn't have been able to do this without Billy. It was Billy's the guy, the mastermind, the instigator, the one that Stu is looking up to and following. It's peer pressure with him. Like, does he say that on the phone? Peer pressure. Like that line. My mom and dad are gonna be so mad at me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god!
Like when he gets hit with the phone, and he's like, "You hit me with the phone, dick."
Fucking hit me with the phone.
Reminds me of my friends, honestly. I mean, we're not killers or anything, but
feel a little woozy here.
Yeah.
Does Skeet or ever play a good guy? Yeah, he right after this he played in Touch, Leonard Elmore Leonard adaptation where he had stigmata and could heal people.
And he also did like an action movie with Cuba Gooding Jr. too around that time.
Yeah, shortly after that. Yeah. Touch is a really good movie. If anybody has these, Christopher Walken and I think Bridget Fonda and Skeet Ulrich. Elmore Leonard, who wrote Jackie Brown and Get Shorty, and Out of Sight, and 3:10 to Yuma. He wrote a lot of westerns and crime novels. One of my favorite writers. And this one's not the same type of book. It's more of a just not no crime in it. It's exploiting somebody who's a faith healer. It could be, the second coming of Jesus or something like that. I think that's what he looks like. He's got a goatee. Because Ray asked me why we thought in the promo photos that Skeet had a goatee in like the poster and all that. And I said it's probably because they were shooting at he was shooting Touch probably, and they took those right before it was released. But man, there's so much to talk about with this movie. But that's to me is like the paranoia of not knowing who it is and trying to figure it out. And again, that was just a brilliant reveal when we find out there's two of them, because it's like, and again, they make you think that Billy isn't so many times, but then he is, and just every little thing, like the sheriff going and put his cigarette out with his boot, and we'd seen those boots in the bathroom, and a similar boots. And then I remember when I saw the movie the first time back in '96 at the theater, I thought it was Dewey the whole time. I started thinking it was Dewey. I did, and like that part where he wants to take Courtney Cox on a walk. I thought, oh, she's gonna get it here.
Really, I never even thought Dewey for a second.
Oh, I did. Because I thought he's throwing everybody off on how goofy he is. That he's actually not that way at all. I thought he was just manipulating everybody to totally not believe him. He's got the mask when she comes in, opens the door, and there's just little things where I started to think it was him.
Yeah,
that's why I remember watching
it. Comes to the phone and Ghostface isn't on the phone anymore.
Hello.
Yeah. Hello.
I thought it was Billy from the beginning. Even when he got stabbed, I was like, I don't believe that shit. I don't think he's dead. And I told because I watched, my mom rented it. I've told stories about her and horror. She brought it home.
It was always Billy or Randy for me.
I thought it was Billy I never thought it was Randy. I didn't think he would have it in him. I thought it was just Billy the whole time. I was like, that dude's a creep. He's a creep. He's got greasy ass hair. He's got he's supposed to be the pretty boy, but his look at how thick and matted his hair is. Looks like he never takes showers. That's besides the point.
Or use that Napa Dan.
He's got the way he looked at Sydney when he was in the in the police captain's office or whatever it was, the sheriff's office. It's just I don't know. I immediately thought it was him, and then the whole stabbing sounds like that's gonna be he's not dead. It's him. I'm telling you.
I saw that film at least 5 times in the theater, and every single time someone behind me would say, "Is that Johnny Depp?" Like every time he came on screen, he came in the window.
Is he a rat-looking Johnny Depp? I don't know. I don't like him very much. Let's put it that way at all. But he was always my pick. I never thought Stu, but like looking at it now and thinking of Stu as what they say is trying to be the tag along to Billy, it makes sense, a lot of sense. I just wish he never died. Maybe he didn't.
Yeah, I'd like to see Stu brought back for the fifth one.
Just because you get a TV dropped on your face doesn't mean shit.
Well, apparently, Kevin Williamson's mind, he didn't die.
Yep.
Because he wrote, Williamson wrote treatments for 2 and 3 while he was writing the script for the first one, apparently. And his original, I know you guys know this, his original idea for 3 was Stu was in prison, kind of masterminding this whole thing with like a fan club of people following him. And then, of course, that story didn't pan out, but he took that idea for his show, the following, with Bacon. But,
sadly got canceled.
Yeah. Kind of like, Ted Bundy. Women were in love with him after he, and I think same thing with the Menendez twins. One of them got married in jail. Maybe he was playing a little bit off of what was actually going on in the world when he wrote Scream. Let's talk about the opening. Can we talk about the opening and how we thought Drew Barrymore? Did you all think Drew Barrymore was going to be in the whole entire film? Like based off the poster?
Kind of what we were led to believe.
I didn't know much about the film because, again, this was back in '96, so it was before we knew every fucking thing about movies before we saw them. Like, I knew it was a Wes Craven movie. I knew it was a killer, but they didn't show the killer in the trailers. So that was a cool element. When that first moment when she's looking in the window and you see it dart, see the killer dart, and that, with the tail and the arm, like what the fuck was that? Like, and then he finally turns around and looks at her, breaks through the window. That was a great reveal. But again, like, I saw this just days after it opened and had no idea what this movie was. I just knew that it was Wes's new movie, and I know the TV spots. I just love the lines he has to her on the phone where he says they were just chilling home invasion type, Seth, we talked about home invasions and how it's a great home invasion sequence. And the lines about, I want to know who I'm looking at, or who I'm, when he says that to her, which door am I at? The question isn't who am I? The question is where am I? Those are terrifying lines for someone to say to you on the phone, especially when you're by yourself, you're a young girl. But that opening,
it's a drawback to like When a Stranger Calls.
Yeah, totally. And basically comes from the urban legend of the, children sleeping upstairs and the caller is upstairs. But I didn't know. I knew Drew was in it, but I had no idea if she was the main star. I certainly didn't expect her to die, and I certainly didn't expect her to die so violently as well. I mean, hanging gutted from a tree. I mean, anybody ever expect it to go that far? And the horribleness of her death, and that she's feet away from her parents and can't scream because they've broken her voice box or whatever when he choked her and hit her in the throat. So she screams "Mom," and they just miss her. I mean, it's just heartbreaking that her safety's right there and she's not able to get to them. Then they can hear her on the phone.
She knew he was in the house. All she had to do was fucking run, and she didn't.
But it's a brilliant open. I can see why Drew made the decision, because she just loved that opening scene so much. I think she just wanted to do that. She chose that over starring in the movie.
Yep.
I think because she knew that scene would be legendary, that it was that good. And it was that scene that sold the movie and sold The Mask, because apparently Bob Weinstein didn't like The Mask, didn't like the dailies, didn't think the movie was going to be good. They they cut that part together really fast to show him. And once he saw that opening scene cut, he just said, "All right, keep going. Threw money at it." So that scene is arguably 10 best opening of a horror film, top 10. I can't think of many better openings.
How much different would the series be? Maybe if it still had a series, if Drew played Sydney.
I don't know if she would have hung out that long.
That's what I was thinking.
No, she was really starting to become kind of a bigger name at that point. Everybody knew her, but like she pretty much took off shortly after that. I mean, she was in Donnie Darko.
Yeah, it was her. She was just starting to make her. She was just making her comeback after getting clean, and
after Poison
I think
Ivy.
she'd done like Poison Ivy and the Bad Girls movie, and she had like a little moment.
Riding in Cars
Wayne's World 2. Yeah, she had a few little hits coming, and then she was a bona fide star at the time. But I didn't have any. It was the best way to see a movie. Again, I knew nothing about it other than the few little things we saw on the TV spots.
Yeah,
it hit everything from us.
I didn't expect her to die in the beginning. When they opened with that, because I do remember seeing her in TV spots or the trailer or something, and thinking, oh, and I knew who she was. My brother was in love with her from her Firestarter days, and you know,
me too.
He recorded Poison Ivy and that, like I said, that Riding Cars with Boys or some shit with a couple other female actors where she kills somebody, kills a dude, and they move away to Arizona or some shit. I don't remember what it is. Anyway, I watched her a lot, so he was like in love with her. So like I knew who she was, and going in, I'd never expected that to happen. And this is before I ever saw Psycho, and it's kind of a very similar move, and I'm very happy they did that. Nothing against Drew Barrymore, but I love Neve Campbell from the first shot of her on her computer on. I mean, she was perfect. I mean, even if there isn't a series, she was fantastic as Sydney.
There's a real vulnerability to her, but when she goes tough, she goes tough. Like she can play both of them very well. Whereas Drew, I think it also helps that she wasn't so familiar to us.
Well,
she
Drew was
Sidney Prescott
kind of a bad girl, though. She had a
she had flashed David Letterman at that point, I think.
Yeah, she had the reputation as just a human, as a bad girl. Or Neve, she had a very innocent look to her, and remained throughout most of the movie until she had blood all over her face. Drew, I could have never seen in a role like I don't know. I still don't think I could see her in a role like that, knowing her reputation. It's weird though. I have trouble separating actors in films sometimes. I'll be right back. Go ahead and keep going.
He's gotta go, Boopy.
I'll say I can't really speak to this big question of did we expect Drew Barrymore, because I mean,
you already knew.
What I remember is I was alive and all these Scream movies were a giant thing, and every year during Halloween there was Scream Ghostface crap everywhere in every freaking store. I was Ghostface for like 4 years in a row for Halloween growing up. I had the Scary Movie mask. This mask is from when I was a kid. It's one of the like 1997 glow in the dark ones. I had the blood one. So I mean, I already knew pretty much. And I watched all of them growing up a lot because we had them. My mom liked them a lot. But
that was my mom is not a horror movie fan, but she would watch it with me every time I put it on. I put it on a lot, drove my dad nuts. And again, I was 20. It was right before I was in college. It was right before maybe a year or two before I moved out. And she would watch it. And I brought it up the other day. I watched all of them on Mother's Day. She called me up. Mother's Day was my birthday as well, so she called me up, wished me happy birthday. She said, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm watching the Scream movies." And she goes, "Oh, I love those movies so much." So, maybe that's why the horror fans don't like it, because Mom likes it too.
It's more than just a horror movie, I think, and that's one of the reasons it's. And plus it started the teen craze, which I think, regardless of how you feel about Scream itself, it's responsible for all those bad movies that, if you think they're bad, that came after.
And they'll drag them down.
Yeah, and that happens quite a bit. and I think that's one of the biggest problems with its reputation. I would say is because of the movies that followed that really had nothing to do with Scream. Scream just started a trend, just like kind of Halloween did, but
Yeah.
everybody loves most of those movies.
Because the common thing I hear all the time is, "Oh, Scream ruined horror." It's like, well, I could see like watching those imitators, you thinking that, but that doesn't make the original film worse. I mean, the
No.
original, you're forgetting how good the original film, the first movie is,
They may not have liked it in general.
and why were all the CW and all these big popular kids in the sequels? Because Scream was so fucking awesome that everybody wanted to be in it.
Yeah.
They said that Sarah Michelle Gellar and all these people like were calling them up wanting to be in Scream.
I was gonna
That's
say
how
there
they got
were
'em
so
all.
many people that were in the second one.
Jared, what are you doing?
It's the one thing I love about the Scream movie, especially the first one. I couldn't see what was going on.
Just like we can't see what's going on with your face.
Sorry.
It was definitely a big teen craze, like all of those movies that cash grab. Because like me growing up, those were all my mom ever watched. Like if it was horror movies, it was those. But my mom was like, I don't know, like 22 in 1996 when she had me, so she was pretty
She
much
could relate.
yeah, she was 18. So growing up, those were the horror movies that I watched the most growing up because we had all the What You Did Last Summer and Urban Legends and all the Screams and all those
Well,
teenage.
it also affected other horror series like Halloween, for instance.
Yeah,
brought that up.
H2O and Resurrection.
H2O, yeah, I mean H2O is a total Scream ripoff, which is a shame because it probably could have been a lot better.
Yeah.
Even the cover art looks like a Scream cover
Follow
art.
the cash cow.
Yeah. Well, Kevin Williamson had such a
The
big
people like
impact.
they when they use celebrities or teen beat type kids, it's like, well, Scream's not even the first to do that because Lost Boys had the biggest teen heartthrobs in the world in it. The Coreys were massive when Lost Boys came
Oh, I
out.
thought you were talking about Jamie Gertz.
And Jamie Gertz was on television on Square Pegs and all that, so this whole idea of
I
using
forgot
known,
about
it
that.
was like having known kids and known stars in horror films was not 100% unique, but it was. Scream became such a phenomenon in film. I mean, just in general, not just the horror genre. Again, that all these people like to get in a new Scream movie was a big deal because these movies were like I mentioned it. They don't feel like little budget movies. They feel like blockbusters, especially the sequels. Scream 2 feels so big. Even I guess because they use little Hans Zimmer scores and stuff in there. But everything about them felt bigger and just better. Some of Wes Craven's best work, directing wise. I was watching just the filmmaking in it is a next level film. And I think to me, New Nightmare kind of started this really. New Nightmare is beautifully directed as well, and Scream just carries that over. Wes was in his kind of prime. Probably people don't think that because they prefer the early, grittier, raw stuff. But if I put Scream on next to Last House on the Left, it's not even comparable.
No, Scream's way better than that, and The Hills Have Eyes. The Hills Have Eyes remake's better. But like one of the things Wes was talking about in one of his interviews was why he decided to do Scream because he turned it down apparently a bunch of times. Was one of his fans said that you need to make a movie that kicks ass again. Because I guess the movies before that, didn't kick ass. Which I think about the movie directly before that was it New Nightmare, or was there something?
Vampire in Brooklyn, I think was what he did that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I'm pretty sure he did that between those two.
I fucking forgot about that one.
Yeah, that movie.
Yeah, I'm still trying, I guess. I haven't seen it since it came out.
Most of his movies in the early '90s that if I can remember any of them, are not memorable. And I'm gonna, even though it was in the '90s,
People Under the Stairs.
Include Shocker. No, I won't include that one. That one I remember, but like I didn't even know that was Wes Craven until later on because I don't read credits. Okay, I don't read credits when I was a kid.
Most of us didn't. No.
Yeah, I turned it off whenever the credits roll. Now you can't because they got after credit stuff. But yeah, when I found out it was Wes Craven, I was like, oh, I gotta own that now because I love the guy. Yeah, Scream. Like I don't remember. That was right around. It was what 96 when it came out. So VHS hit 97. That was right around the time I started buying VHS tapes, or from a VCR, and because I showed you guys the other day.
You mean your video cassette
my
recorder?
video cassette recorder? Yeah. So I I started buying them right around then, and I think because I wasn't into horror as much leading up to that, I think Scream got me right back into it, as as what it did for just I think a lot of people. Because let's do a top 10 list of horror movies from 1990 to 1995 and see what comes up. Better still, do 96 without Scream. And I'm telling you, Candyman is the first one.
Candyman's in there.
Yeah, Candyman might be the best one of the bunch, in my opinion.
Shocker. Well, that was 89. Crap.
How many darkness?
Silence of the Lambs and Misery.
Again, those movies especially Silence of the Lambs, is widely not thought of as a horror film.
Faculty.
Faculty was 98 or 99.
Yeah, that was closer to 2000.
It's also Kevin Williams, isn't it?
Yeah.
Kevin Williams, yeah.
Kevin Williams'
son.
I mean, I enjoy his work so much that I watched Dawson's Creek religiously when it came on.
I never did.
Boo this man.
There's somebody that I follow on Facebook that's been watching it during the quarantine.
I don't have a hat to throw, Jared.
Nate, you know who I'm talking about, right?
I've never seen it.
Anyway, she's got me
it's his writing.
I want to watch it.
I when I watched Dawson's Creek, the main character.
I just got called old. Hold on. I just got called old.
I think we're all a little old talking about Dawson's Creek. Right
Nathan's older than I am. He's almost as old as Keith's mom.
I think Chris is older than us, right?
All right, go ahead.
You could be my father.
Dawson was a big film nerd. Wanted to be a filmmaker. Steven Spielberg was his hero. I mean, he was an outsider. The thing about Dawson's Creek was they were the outsider kids. They weren't the hot, popular Beverly Hills 90210 kids. I related to them a lot more. Joey was like this tomboy who was an artist and wanted to be an artist, and so it just had Kevin's writing, and he was really deep into it. And they even did an episode in the first season that was kind of Scream-like. It was a kind of a horror Halloween type, horror-driven episode. And then that's where I first saw Monica Keena and fell in love with her. She was on Dawson's Creek, long before Freddy versus Jason. And
I'll watch it.
When he left the show, I stopped watching. But they've also got Michelle Williams, who became one of the greatest actresses of her generation.
Yeah, she's great, and good looking.
So I'm reading
H2O.
So I'm reading the taglines on these VHSs for Scream. They're definitely trying to get with the kids. Clever, hip, and scary.
Yep.
Twice as hip, scary, and entertaining. And the third one, they just dropped the hip thing. Apparently, it just says the ultimate Scream
anymore.
A slam bang finish.
We talked about the opening, but the finale is amazing as well. From the point that whole what do they call it? 118 that took 21 days.
Wes Craven likes to have shirts made up. I survived such and such. Like he did on New Nightmare. I survived scene 118. Yeah, that was the whole third act, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, like 40 minutes of the last half of the movie is at Stu's house, at party, and it's like a whole new other film. And there's so much going on. There's so many players involved. And there's so many moments. But when you get to that point, finally, where the reveal and Stu and Sydney and Billy in the kitchen, that whole speech that they give, that when they corner her, is just incredible. And when they start stabbing each other, like, what the fuck is going on? It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's scary. It's terrifying. They're terrifying. And then you got the comic relief with Stu and how crazy he is. But they're so dangerous. You're like, God. And Nev, again, Nev is just so. I love the shot where she crawls out of the car. They goes running up. She turns around. The music score. It's like, it's so well made. It's so well put together. And again, all those different characters. You got Dewey and Gail, and you got Kenny and the band. You got Rose in the garage. I don't know how you can't I don't
Then
know how
all the
anyone
drunk
can
jocks that
enjoy
wanted to go
fucking
see the
movie.
dead principal.
Yeah, let's go down there before they cut it down.
Let's
So
go down
that's
there
what
before they
Billy was
come
doing
down.
before he got there, I guess, right?
And then the Wes
That would
Craven
make sense.
cameo.
So yeah, Billy would have been the one that killed the principal. Now that you say that, because Stu would have been at the party.
Yep.
Yeah.
One of my
And
favorite
then,
parts about that scene 118 is when we find out Billy's still alive, and he looks outside when Sydney's don't, and he lets Randy in, and Snoo's gone nuts or Stu's gone mad or whatever, and he turns around and says that quote from Psycho, "We all go a little mad sometimes," and fucking shoots him. And Scratch says, as a horror fan, you had to love that scene. It made me see Psycho, actually. I never even thought about that till recently. Scream is why I saw Psycho, which is odd. And I'm going to go ahead and give all my rights to the Horror Syndicate over to Jared because I'm not a good horror fan for seeing Psycho because of Scream. Apologies.
We all watch them in different orders. That's for damn sure.
yeah.
But does anybody have anything last things to say about the first Scream, or do you guys want to move on to one of the other ones?
I'm ready.
It didn't kill.
I really like the no. And as far as gore, I mean, if people want to call it sissy, I mean, the movie got an NC-17 rating because of how violent and intense it was. They had to take Bob. I mean, they had to cut it and cut it and cut it. Like they were not getting anywhere. And then, Bob Weinstein basically called them up and said, "It's a comedy. Watch it again." They gave him the R rating.
Oh yeah.
But like I remember seeing on the in '97 on demand, they had where you could rent the director's cut or the unrated cut, and it was violent. I mean, just when Stu and Billy are cutting each other up, I mean, it's wide shots and they're just stabbing the fuck out of each other, and
there's more
blood dripping everywhere. Steve's guts falling out of his lap onto the ground.
The garage
turns
door.
on the light, and the shot of her hanging. Yeah, the garage door. Which I was watching the Blu-ray this weekend, and that shot of the Tatum's head hitting the top of the garage and crushing was in there. And I don't remember seeing that ever before.
See,
except for out of the unrated cut.
Yeah, see, my Blu-ray, it doesn't have any of the stuff that was edited out of. It doesn't have any of it. It's
That
just like
shot
a
was in it.
theatrical release. Which it bums me. Why have they not released the just director's cut on Blu-ray if it was on video
I don't
demand
know.
back in the day?
It was. I rented it and I had it on. I copied it on tape and I have it somewhere.
They'll make Scream 5 and release it. They're like, here's a double pack. And I'll buy it.
But the movie.
I'd buy it.
That scene at the beginning with Steve, though, it's like the hook going in the back of Texas Chainsaw. It's like you think you see his guts fall out, and I know I've seen that cut too at some point somewhere.
Well, it's in the
Maybe my
Inside
Blu-ray's
Story
that way.
documentary.
Well, other than that,
They show it.
Yeah, they
I've
show
seen
like
it
a
before,
comparative.
So Scream 2 came out a year later. It was actually it was being written at the same time as when the movie was released. The movie was released in December of '96. So to correct Keith earlier, you were not in the womb when that movie came out.
Sorry.
Yeah, come on now, you hipster.
I was close.
Yeah. Anyway, Scream 2, yeah, 97. I really wanted to go see this one in the theater. The third one, unfortunately, was the only one I saw in the theater, but Scream 2 was a great follow-up. It was one of the better horror sequels, because generally the sequel is never, this is based on what Randy says, never as strong as they try to double up the body count and there's more blood, and that's true. But generally, don't think because I don't know. I like Scream 2. I'm just disappointed that Randy died. I was very happy with the reveal of the killers, and great additions to the cast as well, with Mickey and Portia de Rossi, and just all around most of the cast members. And
There's a lot of cameos in that.
There are a lot, yeah. The Rebecca Gayheart, so yummy. But there's the scene at the beginning of the movie theater scene. This weekend, my son asked me, "Have you ever been in a movie theater like that? You know how they're going crazy?" And I said, "Just Episode 1, Star Wars Episode 1 is the only time I've ever seen anybody go nuts. There were lightsaber fights up and down the aisles and shit." But that scene is a great setup again because Jada Pinkett is on the goddamn VHS cover or on the poster. She's on the poster, And you're like, okay, so she's going to be in this. But nope, she dies at the very, very beginning of the goddamn movie. So they did that to us twice.
Yeah, she's
Yeah,
on the
First was
another-
Steve Ulrich's mustache. And then
Another really solid opening.
Mhm.
Yeah. And it's creepy, like that scene where Omar Epps is listening to the other stall and you hear, okay, mommy, like that. Was like almost like in Black Christmas, the character's kind of like that on the phone. It's like maybe it's an homage to that, but they shot the Rialto. It was. I don't think it was made to look like the Rialto, but the classic great movie theater, and then handing out the costumes and everybody's in the costume. The whole idea of a movie within a movie, or they made a movie about it, Stabbed, is this awesome concept, and then everybody's dressed like that so he can hide. It could be anybody, which is another thing. I mean, this was supposed to be a popular costume that anybody could have.
Get at the local 5.
So it really literally could be anybody. But I remember when Scream 2 was coming out, of course I was excited because I was obsessed with the first. I remember them playing the clip of Randy and Dewey talking about sequels in the diner.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about, oh yeah, I got David Schwimmer and they got all this. And I remember that clip playing, and even on that clip you could tell there was a bigger budget. There was a different vibe. It didn't feel. It felt bigger automatically. Just everything about it, which was something else I wanted to bring up too. I was noticing that with cinematography, and that we didn't talk about. I know it's one of those docs. The guy who shot the original movie, Mark Irwin, was fired from the movie like a week before they were finished. And it was kind of an ugly story because I saw an interview with Mark online. He was talking about it. He was not. Of course, he would be disgruntled, but apparently they came to him saying that everything was out of focus. And he said, I want you to fire the whole team, his focus pullers, his lighting people, his cameraman, all that. And he said, well, if you're going to fire them, you might as well fire me. And apparently Wes said, that's a good idea. So they fired him. And then he said, I don't get it because everything that's in the movie is what I shot. But they were telling me everything was out of focus. So I don't know. Like he said something about when Wes was killed, somebody called him up. When Wes died, someone called him up for an interview, and he said, well, I knew he was a friend because he stabbed me in my front. So I don't know. There's a lot of that.
Oh, shit. He didn't throw me under the bus on my back.
So that was unfortunate to hear, that
I've never
happened.
heard any of that.
Yeah, but the guy that replaced him came and shot the last part of it, shot the rest of the films.
Was this on one of the docs, or just something you heard?
It was a little clip I saw, but it is on one of the documentaries.
It's on the inside one.
Okay, I have yet to see either of them, so it sounds like I need to jump on that.
Yeah, I know the inside story. It was like an hour or something. I know just Still Screaming's like an hour and a half. So.
Yeah, it was on the inside story for sure. The other one was kind of a strange doc.
Yeah, I haven't watched the other one.
It's kind of strange, but back on if you're okay with going back to Scream 2.
Yeah, that was the last little detail I remembered about Scream 1.
Well, I think they tried to really take the movie fan situation a little bit further with that class scene. I wanted to talk about that a little bit because I love that scene where Randy's in his film theory class or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that's how we get introduced to Mickey and Sarah Michelle Gellar as well. Sober sister. But that's a really fun scene. It's
Joshua Jackson.
Yeah, Joshua Jackson too.
Never liked that guy either.
What? He was good in Fringe. Come on.
I never watched that show because I didn't like him. So I always thought he was a terrible actor. So what do I know? I don't know anything. I think because I think Hayden Christensen's fantastic. No.
Mother of pearl.
Part of the reason I don't like him because he was almost cast as Anakin Skywalker, okay? And I didn't want him. I didn't want Pacey to be Anakin. Anyway.
The things that annoyed me... Sorry.
So, I'm getting way off track.
Well, we're back to Dawson's Creek again.
That's a great scene and it's a great intro to... it is, really. But it's a great intro for Mickey. The Tarantino film student. Creepy, whatever he says, Tarantino film student. Mickey is actually, got to be honest, one of my favorites of the series.
Yeah, Timothy Olyphant really killed that character.
Yeah, and he's a great actor anyway. But there's moments that you feel like it could be him, and then there's the moment after who was it that died that he's comforting Sid, and you're like, man, maybe not.
Out
I
at
don't
the
know.
hospital where he walks over and sits right next to her.
That was her
Yeah.
friend. Yeah, her
Yeah,
friend.
that's that scene, but I don't know. This one had me guessing more so than, and it could. I mean, it threw a really big, curveball at you with the reveal of the killer. I mean, originally you're not surprised. I mean, I wasn't totally surprised when I saw it was Mickey, and then he tried to blame it on Derek. That whole scene, and you're like, oh come on, the boyfriend again, and he shoots him, and then all of a sudden there's Debbie Salt, and you're like, what the fuck,
Yeah.
like that's the best reveal of the killer in the entire series, in my opinion. Am I wrong? I mean, in the fourth one, I think it was almost obvious who it was to me, anyway. But
I just think it's funny whenever she pushes Gail out the door first, and Sydney just immediately is just like, Gail. I'm like,
no, it's
you think that lowly of her?
I never would have thought it was Gail. Never,
I know,
ever
but I just
thought
like
it
how
was Gail.
Sydney's just immediately like Gail, like with an angry death stare. Like you immediately think that lowly of Gail Weathers.
I did, and her body language told me not. No, there's no way it was Gail. Would you guys think it was Gail whenever she got pushed out like that?
No, I was talking about like Sydney as a character.
Okay. It was like a split second thing, but I never thought it was Gail ever. In either one of them. Thought she was the killer in the fourth one, though. No.
And yeah, the great Laurie Metcalf. I mean, one of the most underrated actresses. Period. Like, I mean, her and John Goodman owned Roseanne. I mean, in many ways. And then finally, Laurie really got some credit when she did Lady Bird and was finally nominated for an Oscar. And, I don't know if y'all ever saw the Louis C.K. show that he did. I'm trying to remember what the damn name of it was, but it was a web series he did.
Yeah.
And the episode is it's just a 30-minute episode of him and Laurie. And Laurie plays like his ex-wife, and they're talking, and it's almost all Laurie. It's like this huge monologue, just the two of them having a conversation. And she is fucking amazing in that scene, in that episode. Like, she had people just praising the shit out of her when they saw it. But she's really good as Mrs. Loomis. She does crazy well.
She was really good because you didn't expect her at all. You thought she was just... Well, I recognized her, of course. I'm sure most of us recognize her. Who didn't watch Roseanne except for Keith?
Right.
I'm only assuming because it was on before you were born.
I watched Roseanne. Don't like it though.
Okay, so yeah, but I recognize.
Ooh, this man.
But I just thought she was, kind of like just a journal. I didn't think twice about who she was. I knew who she was. I'd never thought of her as a good big actor or anything like that. It's just I was like, oh, okay, she's in this too. Because just like you said, everybody wanted to be in the Scream movies at that point, and I just thought that's what it was. And then she popped out behind Gail. I'm like, what the fuck?
But yeah, you're not gonna think
Who
they're
is
gonna
she?
cast somebody that low to be the killer.
Well, I didn't even think about Billy's mom. It wasn't just that; it was just the fact the reveal was Billy's mom. I never even thought about that.
But, in hindsight, watching it just as a movie, like now knowing movies more, I'm like, well, of course it was, because she had no other purpose to be there. I mean, like there was no other reason to just throw this character in there.
Yeah.
So that's a little obvious, and if you're, really paying attention to it, but I never would have thought it was Billy's mother. Which is another thing about this film series, and what I think
I feel stupid.
This whole film series is, again, what separates it is that, like you said, it's like seeing old friends, like a family, because we are staying with these same characters, and there's this whole arc and this history of Sid's mother being this loose whore, and then they don't drop that. They let that germ, build into a plot for the third film, and which is refreshing to see a series that connects, that has a continuing story where we see not just one character return, but several characters return, where we really give a shit about them and we really care about them, and we don't want to see them die, and we don't want to see them hurt. Again, like Wes Craven, like Dewey was supposed to die in the first one, but he was just... And that happens on films. Like somebody will become the heart of the film, but you didn't plan on, and you start rethinking, like, I can't kill Dewey off. Dewey's like he needs to be in the next one. He needs to continue this. Like we need to use this character again. So that was I love the scene in with him and Gail in the sound booth.
Yeah.
That's a great sequence. Great use of geography and, you know, I mean, it's a great tense scene. And part 2 has arguably one of the best suspenseful scenes, which is the police car, where Elise Neal and Nev are stuck in the back and have to crawl past the unconscious killer.
Yeah.
And even, again, talking about gore, the cop with the pulse through his head, he's still...
He's a twitcher.
Yeah. Which I didn't realize. I just read that those 2 cops are named after Brian Andrews and Kyle Richards. They're Andrews and Richards, but they're named after the kids from Halloween.
Didn't know that.
There's 3 things about Scream 2 that bug me. One is the people at the beginning of the movie, because they're going to get popcorn and using the bathroom after the movie's already started, and it aggravates the piss out of me. I'm like, you're missing the fucking movie. Why are you at the movie theater?
Yeah.
But that's
He's
just
the one who wanted to go see it.
That's
That's
just-
Sandra Bullock.
yeah. And then the
This
other
is the nature, probably.
the car scene aggravates me because like she goes to take the mask off and accidentally honks the horn and then just gives up on taking the mask off after that, which annoys me. Just take the fucking mask off. You're gonna climb over his body twice. Anyway.
She should have done it before she climbed over his body.
Yeah, that too. I mean, he's there. Beat the shit out of him. That annoys me. And then I can't stand college girls in any movie, so like that makes me want to murder people.
I also read that Robert Rodriguez was the one who directed the stab scenes. The footage.
I would say in the
With
fourth.
Heather Grandmother.
I would say in the 4th movie when they're having Stabathon, it shows directed by Robert Rodriguez for Stab 1. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it shows his name in the beginning of Scream 2 as well.
I think it does, yeah.
Yeah.
I would like a Stab t-shirt. That one that the kid is wearing in part 4, the green one. I really want that. If I could find that shirt. Yeah, he's wearing the guy that's wearing the headpiece and
Yeah.
The GoPro.
Yeah,
Roger.
whatever his name is, yeah. Kid who gets killed who says he's gay but he's really not.
If that
I'm
helps.
gay.
If
I'm
that
gay.
helps,
That
yeah, because
helps.
the rules changed. New decade, new rules or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. Scream 2 is a one of the better horror sequels ever, and I think again, it falls into a poor pot with I Still Know What You Did Last Summer and Urban Legends 2 and all these other teen movie sequels. First of all, I'm gonna go out and say Urban Legends is a good movie. The first one,
I enjoyed it. Although
yeah, I really like that movie.
the only thing I had a problem with that movie is the finale where Rebecca Gayheart gives her speech. It is just total Billy Loomis. Like they just almost word for word monologue. Like,
but she's
really,
so much cuter.
they're going there.
But she's so much cuter. I'll take it from her any day. And she looks like Michelle Pfeiffer after Catwoman takes her mask off at the end of Batman Returns, and her hair's all fluffed out. One of my favorite scenes in that movie. And then she's kind of got the same look going. And I just think I'm really attracted to Rebecca Gay.
And she's in Scream 2.
Yes, she is.
Siskel and Ebert apparently loved this movie, both of them, and they were never really big fans of slasher films. That was something interesting I heard. They both loved it.
They're films for everyone, the Scream movies. I mean, they're not simply slasher fans, like we said. Your mom's not a big slasher fan, you know. She liked these movies because they're more than just they're a great mystery, story, and a lot of people like that. You just happen to be a horror movie at the same time. Seth looks like he's ready to say something. Come on, Seth, do
I
it.
think it's the closest we'll ever
Go,
get to
Seth.
like horror Scooby Doo.
Okay.
Like you got the gang.
Seth, you fix this.
What's that?
Just fix whatever he just said.
I have no fucking idea what he just said.
Tuned him out. What
I
about
heard Scooby Doo and I tuned it out.
Wow.
Just kidding, buddy.
Joel?
One of the fun stories Joe, he's the camera guy, right?
Yeah, I loved him. Just saying.
Dwayne Martin. I love the story, because when he just quits,
Yeah.
he said that was his idea because he was supposed to die, and he went to Wes and said, "Look, man, black people, we don't hang out. One guy dies, we're out." He goes, "I'm just leaving." He goes, "I think I should just leave." He goes, "What? You want to just leave the movie?" He's like, "Yeah." He goes, "We would. That's how we are. We don't fuck around. We don't." It's like, "No, He goes, "Well, what would you do?" He goes, "You have a right." He goes, I'll take the bus."
No, I'll take a cab. And there's if you look, I didn't notice there's a cab right behind him.
Yeah.
Waiting for him.
He's
Yeah,
like,
that's
"I'm
a
gone."
great. I love his character.
And
He's so great.
yeah,
Yes.
it's a great little
Drops the
detail
box of
that
donuts
it
or
was his
whatever when he sees
idea.
his windows smashed.
It's like I wouldn't stay here. I'm leaving.
But the best part is he comes back to report the news, and when Gail finds out Dewey is okay, he does it on his own. He even asks a question to Cotton. Right before we get to his wonderful show, I was gonna answer. This is how I was gonna start the show. Welcome to 100% Cotton, but I forgot until just now. So Cotton Weary, what a great name. And he got a big role too. I like Liev Schreiber.
Yeah,
He's a really good actor and a great voiceover actor.
He's just supposed to be like a walk-on on the first movie, which he really was. I think like Bob just called him and said, "Hey, would you come on and do this little bit part?" Another thing I saw was Selma Blair was the girl who talks to Cece on the phone.
Oh.
When she's at home by herself, which is another really great scene with Sarah Michelle Gellar, and then the Audrey Griswold from Vegas Vacation is one of her sisters in there.
The one that's making the noise upstairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole scene with her and running up the stairs, and she should know better. She's Buffy. Come on.
Yeah,
and that was the scene where
that was just part of her filming that.
Yeah.
And that was probably a representation that people just wanted to be a part of it because she was shooting Buffy and I know what around the same time, so she was like overloaded with work, but did whatever she could to come in and be on that film.
That's a good scene. Good death too. Was that Mickey?
And I love the whole. I love the whole stage play with her playing Cassandra with the Troy story and all the people dressed up, scaring her, freaking her out. Yeah, it's just a strong title. And then like the little Top Gun homage with Jerry O'Connell and
his wonderful voice.
Got him apart.
I still see him from Stand By Me. Let me go back to Cece's death for a second. That was Mrs. Loomis, right?
Feeling.
You think it was Mrs. Loomis?
Well, because Mickey was at the party.
Yeah.
He was mentioned Return of the Jedi and
not a sequel.
I think that was I really would like to pinpoint who was who at some. I'm maybe watching.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah. So anyway,
it'd be a little bit easier in the first one because Lillard's way taller than Skeet Ulrich. You know, I mean, height wise.
Yeah.
Obviously,
it's always a stunt guy though.
Yeah, exactly. They use stunt doubles for all those scenes.
The picture you put up, I was like, was he ever in that costume, Skeet? Because you have a picture of you and him in the costume. Like, I don't think it might be the first time you ever wore that thing. So who killed Casey Becker at the beginning? Was it him or was it Matthew?
It was probably Matthew because he dated her. He's probably getting revenge. She dumped him.
Yeah.
Right before she dumped your ass.
Yeah. Although Billy may have been the one on the phone or one killing Steve, or sure they were both there.
Oh, I didn't think about that. They probably tag team that one.
Mm-hmm.
One on the phone and one in the costume. Do you think there were more than one costumes? I guess there had to be because
probably
with one of the masks.
Yeah.
Anyway, you want to go for Scream 3? Let's go for Scream 3.
Let's do it.
It's not as bad as I originally remembered.
Scream 3 goes to Hollywood.
Yep, 100% Cotton. I thought it had a great opening with Cotton and his girlfriend, and my son, 11 years old, bless his heart, hates the fact that it has a voice changer that can basically clone anyone's voice. I'm like, well, that makes it a little bit more interesting for me because the whole Cotton scene wouldn't work out at all without the voice changer that could change all the voices.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The only thing that annoys me about it is it's not like a real piece of tech. Like, it doesn't exist. It's not a thing.
It does now.
Buy.
Every cell phone can do that.
Not that good.
It's a fantasy movie.
Yeah, I get that.
It's a movie, kid.
Okay, Christopher Nolan. Let's keep the real world out of this. Anyway. I remember seeing it in the theater whenever it came out. I took my little brother, who was like 12 at the time, because we were big in the Scream, and I really did like it, but it didn't age as well. But really, kind of enjoyed it a little bit more. I was talking about how Nev Campbell's, Sydney not being in most of the movie kind of hurt it, but really, there's a lot of good Dewey and Gale stuff, and it seemed like more of Gale's movie than anybody's movie. Seemed like she was the one carrying the most of the movie.
Well, she definitely wasn't carrying them in her hair bangs.
Her hair was terrible.
Her bangs, my God.
Seems like every movie her hair got worse.
Yeah, well, she looked really good in the second one. Anyway, I liked all the banter between her and Dewey, and especially when she gets on set and she has the camera in her purse, and he knows that it's in there because he bought it for her. Good stuff. It's and seeing the set of Woodsboro like on set was really cool, because I mean that's probably how they shot it. And somebody said they were pre-built the set for was that you, Seth, that said that, because they were going to make the third one in Woodsboro?
Yeah. I was looking up some stuff while I was watching Scream 4 the other day, and they were building sets. They were jumping into production, and then Columbine happened, and they had to change a part on the story. And so they wanted it to take place during a production so they could utilize those sets.
It's kind of bang for your buck, because you're already spending money on it.
Yeah, like Wes said, he knew he wanted to go back to Woodsboro, right, for the third. So he'd already spent money building those sets before they even had their script or knew exactly what they were going to do.
Yeah.
It's a great idea. I liked it. I mean, I don't know how many movies we've seen that happen on a backlot in the cinema, and just the whole Hollywood, seedy Hollywood, Lance Henriksen's house, which I read was that was the location in H2O of the school that Jamie Lee Curtis is a head
okay.
mistress at. Is actually the same place, and I think it's a producer or director's house in reality.
That makes sense. They're both dimensions, so.
Yeah. They were just popping those things out. With Bob Weinstein, I was really curious because Scream was kind of his baby, and I was thinking, I haven't really checked in on Bob Weinstein and the whole situation with his brother, and apparently he came out and said that he had no idea. He knew he was cheating on his wife, but he didn't know that his brother was that evil, and he deserves what he got. And he thinks justice has been served. He said, I had no idea of the extent of because I knew he was cheating on his wife, but I didn't know how he was, like, the extent of what he was doing.
So he wasn't a part of any of that.
No, he said, I didn't know. He goes, I knew my brother was, he knew things, but he didn't know he was doing that. He was abusing his power and targeting these young women, these actresses and people. Yeah. So he was pretty much like, yeah, my brother's a monster, and he deserves what he gets. And unfortunately, I didn't know about it. But Bob apparently again was the Dimension was kind of hit. I think he kind of took care of the Dimension part of Miramax at the time, and he was like the big champion. Wes Craven said the Screen franchise relies on him and Kevin and Bob, and that those are really the three-headed demons of the Screen franchise.
Said something like, when you get those three together, good things happen, something along those lines.
Yeah.
Which Dimension's not even a thing anymore now, right? They don't use that.
Well, yeah, I mean, they broke away from Miramax. I think Disney owns Miramax now, maybe, and they started the Weinstein Company.
Yeah.
Sometime in the early 2000s, mid 2000s. So they broke away from Miramax good 15 years ago.
Yeah. So, Scream 3. Anything anybody want to talk about with Scream 3?
Well, Scream 3 feels like a total Miramax movie, because you got the little Silent Bob and Jay's cameo. And
the back and forth with Courtney Cox and what's her name? Gosh,
Parker Posey.
that's
Parker
it,
Posey.
Yeah, that was
Their back and forth was pretty funny.
I love her in this. This is a perfect casting choice because I think there was somebody else was up for it, but I'm so thankful they got Parker to play that part. Because and that little scene we talked about, right, where she jumps up in Warburton's arms.
I love that scene. That's such a good scene, and the funny thing is he barely moves, and she just jumps right in his arms. I love that scene. Yeah,
I read
she's
that.
a fun character playing Gail Weathers. What was her name in the movie though? I can't remember.
I don't know. She had a fake name because Carrie Fisher called.
Yeah,
the Carrie
called
Fisher
her out
part.
on her horrible name.
Linda Jurgenstern or something like that.
Yeah.
Or Judy Jurgenstern. That's it. That's her name. I remember that, but I can't remember her actual character's name for the movie.
I like how Carrie Fisher's like, no, I'm not her. Yes, I get it all the time.
I'm not the one who slept with George Lucas.
Yeah, I was up for the role, but I didn't sleep with George.
What did you guys think about Randy's sister in the movie?
I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was cool just to bring Randy back because I like a lot of people. Randy was one of my favorite characters.
I thought it was kind of an awkward introduction because she just like opens the door and like, oh, you're here.
Yeah.
What was she doing in that trailer?
Exactly. I don't think they ever set that like up. There's somebody here to see you. Like they didn't. I don't think they did that at all.
There's a lot of things in Scream they never set up. Like Dewey never says a single thing about his sister's death ever. I mean, even though she's not nice to him, but he never mentions it at all.
I thought she was mentioned at some point. Oh, in part 2, Gail kind of when we're saying it's a copycat killer and they're going down the list of who died, and she says Tatum. It kind of you get a look from Dewey, but that's about as far as you get.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
Scream 3 was a low point for the series and not the best of them all, as the trailers would say.
I did like it a lot more watching it on Sunday for some reason. I don't know what it was. And it has one of my favorite moments in the franchise, which is when at the end where Sydney opens her gate, leaves the door open. And there's a beautiful moment of her, not letting herself be a victim anymore.
Yeah.
Which really is
living in fear all the time.
It's just the music, the score, and everything when she opens that door or that gate is a beautiful moment in this franchise.
And then the door blows open at the.
Then it's right before that you get that wonderful moment where Dewey just massacres one of Gail's books just to put a ring in there. What the hell's that, Dewey? Come on. Cuts a hole.
Let's say when I was watching 3, I feel like 3 is more about PTSD than anything with the scenes with Sydney, anyways, because like when she's on the set and she goes in her bedroom, you get all the flashback audio of Billy climbing through the window and everything.
Well, also just seeing like weird delusions of her mother and stuff too.
I didn't like that.
Yeah, those are a little out of place and weird.
I think 3 had a lot of good ideas as far as like what they wanted to do of bringing it full circle, giving a definite conclusion to the story. By the end of that movie, you do feel like everything is all wrapped up. I don't buy into that there was just one killer the whole time. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't really care for, Roman being the killer.
I was not happy about that. I remember being very let down. Because he kind of felt like he was a throwaway character, like he really wasn't.
Right, exactly.
And that was probably why they made it. But like, who would you when you were watching it initially? Who did you think it was?
Patrick Dempsey for a while.
Patrick Dempsey, I can see that. I mean, he's a creepy dude.
Well, I mean, they kind of threw the red herring in there when Sydney was in his office. And he had a file just of her that went back years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, that was a definite misdirection, for sure.
I don't remember ever suspecting anybody in that, but I didn't lie. I remember being let down. But really, when I hear that the writer, was given, like Bob called him up, asked him to write a script. He said, "When are you shooting?" He said, 6 weeks. So 6 weeks for shooting this movie. And he goes, "Well, I'm touching up the script." No, there's no script. So it's like he had to come up with a film. So when you look at that, it's a good film for the pressure that he was under to produce something.
Right. It just didn't feel like a Scream.
Yeah.
Right. And that's
Probably again because they weren't his characters and Nev's not available.
Well,
And
he wasn't the only one who. There was another writer that came in too. There was a third writer, or well, I
on
guess a
set,
second writer.
I think there was somebody
Yeah.
on set. Yeah.
yeah, they usually do that, but like they originally were gonna go with, I think Kevin Williamson's treatment that he wrote, and then they didn't want to do
Columbine.
that. The studio didn't really want to do anything with teenage killers, and then Kevin Williamson was busy with teaching Miss Tingle at the time, so he couldn't do the script. So they brought in Aaron Kruger, who I'm not really a big fan of some of his work, but
Yeah.
I mean, but I liked some aspects of Scream 3, how it felt as a conclusion. It felt like it was pretty, like, if that's where the series ended, I'd be satisfied.
Yeah.
I didn't really care for Cotton dying in the beginning. I thought he should have been a character who, like Randy, maybe dies later in the film.
I would
But
have liked that more.
Yeah.
I would have liked if he would have turned out to be the killer. No.
right,
I like
You
that.
guys didn't respect me. I got out of jail and you still didn't respect me.
I even have a show called 100% Cotton.
Yeah, the only things that really bother me in 3 is, well, like Sydney shoots Ghostface to help Dewey and Courtney Cox's character, and then she just like ignores him laying on the ground. I'm like, you've been through this twice already. Like, you should know not to leave the killer and turn your back. Like, it's already happened 500 times. And then the other thing, I don't like that the killer arcs
That
back
She
had
would
off.
have shot him in the
also-
face. It would have worked.
Exactly. I don't like that the killer arcs all the way back to the first one. And he was actually the mastermind instead of Billy.
Yeah.
I wish. I mean, it's fine that he's her brother and half brother and everything, but I wish they wouldn't have arced it all the way back to he was the cause of the first movie and he's the cause of literally all of them.
I could see what you're saying. That definitely puts like an asterisk to the first one when you think about the true killers of the movie because
yeah.
Scott, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I can't remember the guy's name that played Roman. Scott something.
Foley.
Foley.
Foley, that's it. Yeah, I mean, he did a really good job with his characters, but it definitely made everything that you thought what was true in the first movie just feel a little flat.
I just wish that apparently they weren't going for Benicio del Toro to play that part originally.
That would have been cool.
I'd rather seen that.
Maybe you could have the stutter like he did in The Last Jedi.
Well, he was a little crazy in License to Kill.
What? He was in that?
Yeah, he was the henchman.
Oh my gosh, I haven't seen that movie in so long.
Badass in Sicario.
But I mean, it like what Keith was saying. I also don't like that too. That it goes back. It changes the first movie. They could have easily had it set where he was still her brother, and maybe after the events of what happened in the first
He
Scream.
learned who she was.
Right. You know.
Yeah, it alters the stuff that you're already in love with. Again, it's like all of a sudden Freddie has a daughter and a wife kind of bullshit. You didn't have to make your fucking plot work that you had 6 weeks to write. You know? But yeah, I get it. Yeah, I remember being disappointed that Roman was the killer. Again, like he's like, really? I don't even remember him being half of this movie.
I mean, I do kind of like the switch up though that he like plants himself dead in the coffin.
Yeah, that was cool. It's the idea for it.
But nobody ever really mentions that. The one chick's like, he's the killer. Like she doesn't mention like I saw him stabbed at the chest in a coffin in the basement.
I like when he thinks he's next because
They broke
what's
his
her name broke his trophy. His head. Do you think this isn't a message?
Yeah, I actually liked his character as the director, who's more worried about his movie than people dying than finding out it's Sydney's brother. I mean, that was my biggest complaint, which was kind of mentioned, was that he's responsible for all of it, basically.
It just doesn't make any. I mean, when you really look at it, it's like, why was he doing this? He's built himself up to be this famous, like, successful filmmaker, or I guess I don't know at this point. And this is what he's been doing for the last, because they said it's like 4 years or 5 years or something, right?
Yeah, and he could have only been like a year or two older than Sydney.
So it just felt really weird that this guy would be who he is, and then that was how he changed. First of all, the director ain't got that much time. Too busy to plot murders and manipulate teenage kids in Woodsboro.
It just seems kind of out of his way.
Yeah, it's like
We're going to a new
number 4.
Yeah, we're going to a new generation, new rules now,
new decade.
new decade.
I like 4.
I literally just finished watching it.
I think the opening of 4 is with the 3 different openings is really fun. I like that he calls Amy Teagarden out for having big boobs and being blonde, and she was in Friday Night Lights, so I had a lot of experience dealing with that actress. I like her.
Did you?
Well, I mean, she was in that show, and I watched every episode of that show, and then
every single episode.
Yeah, I love that show. But I noticed that she does have big breasts. Anyway, I thought that was kind of funny, kind of going back to the old movies of what Sydney said. The first movie, what Sydney said. What did you guys think of the multiple openings for the fourth movie?
It's
also,
fun.
did they have to? Do you think they had to reshoot everything from Stab 3 since there are 7 of them now? Since basically the entire crew was killed off, and who I wonder who played Gale Weathers. Just a thought that I had.
Didn't Parker Posey at the end say, "I was supposed to be the killer in Stab 3"?
Yeah. They had to reshoot the whole thing. Why would they reshoot that movie if anyway?
Sounds like a nightmare. I like the opening. I mean, you got Anna Paquin and Kristen Bell.
That was great. I like that.
Yeah.
That back and forth. That was funny.
And you can definitely tell when that movie was made just by those cameos alone. But growing up, I was a big Anna Paquin fan from X-Men and then obviously True Blood.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the opening. I think it's cool and it fits with the humor of the Scream series and them making fun of horror and then making fun of themselves at the same time and everything.
And having multiple sequels.
Apparently, Stab 5 has time travel, so
yeah, I like that.
I want to see that movie.
That would be an interesting plot.
Time travel. It was great coming back to Woodsboro. That's something I mentioned. It was welcome to finally actually see it, and I like how they're celebrating the date with there's fucking Ghostface all over the place.
And teenagers, yeah.
Yeah, it's it's even on the light posts and stuff like that. There's big Ghostface. Did somebody do that, or is that just to celebrate that?
Kids did it.
That's fucking ridiculous.
Because Dewey shows up with the deputy who annoys the shit out of me, and is having people take all the Ghostface down.
Yeah, she was in Planet Terror.
Yeah,
Marley Shelton, man.
Marley Shelton's awesome.
She just annoys the shit out of me.
She's what, Wendy Peppercorn from The Sandlot,
Yep.
right?
Yes. Yes, she is.
I always liked her. She doesn't annoy me. I like her.
No,
I'll eat her. I'll eat her lemon squares that taste like ass.
You wouldn't be cheating if you eat my lemon squares. No, but I'd be cheating of my diet.
Watch out for Dewey, the jokester.
I like that. The beginning lets Kevin kind of play with where horror was at that time, like commenting on remakes and torture porn, and because the genre had changed, so he got to commentate on what had happened since he last wrote a script for the films.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I thought that was clever too with the movie, that it was about someone trying to remake Sidney's legacy.
Yeah.
I
really liked part 4. I don't know why people don't. I think it's a strong sequel. I think it's definitely stronger than the third. I'm tight with the second one.
Yeah, I could see that too. I like a lot of the additions, and I like the story and the jealousy of Sydney's niece or cousin or whatever she is, and
niece.
And it works. It works with this whole me influencer social media world where everybody can become a celebrity without doing anything. Even she even talks about that.
Yeah,
and just do this, and I'll be famous. Yeah, and I don't put that past people who would go to those lengths to get recognized and famous.
That actually is funny, though. That not funny, but the last scene that you see in the movie as it fades to the credits is her face, and then it pulls down to the all the people, all the reporters calling her a hero and stuff, and
Yep.
she just was killed, and they had no idea what was going on, and it fades to black. I was like, man, that's fucking awesome. They have no idea what this bitch did, and what now that she's dead. It's like I would have loved to see some kind of fallout from that, and a Scream 6 or Scream 5. I mean, but obviously that didn't happen at the time.
It was such a great scene too, where she starts beating herself up, cutting herself, stabbing herself.
That is good.
Yeah,
when she pulls her hair out, goddamn.
Yeah, that's where I thought the movie should have ended. I thought 4 should have been the start of a new trilogy. Where we, the audience, know who the killer is. I felt like the whole last part in the hospital kind of took away from that powerful scene where she just sabotaging everything, just making it look like she's like, I don't know. When I saw that in theaters, when that part came up, because we never saw that in a Scream movie, where the bad guy essentially wins, and what comes next, and it was just such a cool scene, and it felt like they kind of ruined it by having that aftermath in the hospital. Even though we did get that one good line,
Oh, that amazing line.
don't fuck with the original.
Yeah, don't fuck with the original. That
was good. And just the look on her face to be told that, no, I think Sydney's going to pull through. And now the audience knows what she's thinking, and like, what? The desperation and the fear that's in her at that point. Which the whole movie feels like that. Because I remember thinking it could have been Gail in the movie because of her not being famous anymore, or and Sydney all of a sudden being famous with her books, and
Dewey casting her aside constantly
Gail
throughout the investigation.
Kid back into it.
Yeah.
I think it's strong. I love Hayden's character. What's her name in it?
Kirby.
Kirby.
She's got a weird name. Kirby. I love Kirby.
I like whenever they were doing the beginning of the first movie and what's the remake where, and she starts naming off all the goddamn remakes that came out in the last 10 years or so. She names them all just about, which I thought was great.
It's one of those,
I would totally date her. What is that dude doing? I would have given up being a killer. Be like, okay, I got this chick. Fuck being a killer. Fuck Jill.
Yeah.
I got Kirby now. I would have given it all up.
I agree.
You noticed me now after 4 years? Oh, come on, crybaby.
4 years.
Just because your brother's still a bigger star than you is, even though he doesn't make any movies. Never mind. Or cousin or whatever the fuck he is.
It's his older brother.
Is he Fuller? Was he Fuller?
No, Kieran was Fuller.
Okay.
Wait, that
Kieran's
wasn't Kieran?
No, that's the younger. Kieran's one in like Scott Pilgrim and.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't realize there was a third one. I figured that was
the one that was
Fuller wet the bed.
What'd you say, Seth?
This was the one I believe that was in Signs, right? He was the little boy in Signs.
Oh, yeah, that makes more sense. They all look very similar to me. I actually liked his character, though, throughout the movie, but even though I was pretty sure he was in on it the whole time. So I didn't think Jill was, honestly, but I did think Kieran was. Good movie. Good. 4 is good, and wasn't a great way to end the series, and that's why I guess we're getting another one, right? We're Nev Campbell's in talks to do 5. Quickly, what do you guys think? What would you like to see in a Scream 5? Nate, you go first because you're gonna have to bounce shortly.
I really don't know. I'm excited about the filmmakers who are doing it. I thought Ready or Not was really fantastic.
Yeah.
So I think whatever they do is going to be entertaining and fun. I don't know. Hopefully it's something new. It's something unique. Because, I mean, that's the hard thing about Scream. It's like, how can this keep happening? I made a joke. It's like, well, Sydney's like John McClane. Like, the same shit keeps happening to the same chick over and over.
They haven't done a
Even
Christmas
the second
one yet.
Die Hard.
Well,
even the second, well, let's do like Scream in the Snow. We'll do that.
There you go.
but they live in California, so.
Never Scream in the Snow.
But I don't know. I've never thought about it because I don't know if there's anywhere for it to go. But hopefully, I mean, I've never sat around and thought about it of where it could be from here. Once Wes passed away, I just figured no one would ever come back to do it.
Same here.
And it's at the
I thought it'd
same
be
time, I could see it remade. I mean, but the thing is, as long as Kevin's writing it, I'm on board because I think it's his baby. Even though Wes was, so intricately involved, it's still Kevin Williamson's universe, his characters, and we saw what it was like when he wasn't around in part 3.
Yeah.
So he's definitely a great screenwriter, storyteller, and he knows these characters better than anything. And if anybody's going to take Sid out, if that happens, it should be on his terms, his choice.
Yeah, and I think it should be Roman's twin brother. Rowan.
I want Scott Foley back.
Well, maybe they'll cast.
I didn't mention I was a twin.
Yeah, not. They don't have to be identical. They can be fraternal. They should get what's his name from People Under the Stairs that played the dad in the gimp suit. Be the. No, I'm joking.
I'm pretty sure he's older.
Seth, do you have any ideas of what you'd like to see for Scream 5? Or Nate, you got more?
I don't.
I have an idea.
I haven't even thought about it.
I do now that it's actually a possibility.
I've thought about it for years because I thought this was like what Seth was saying. I thought this would be the launch of a new trilogy, and unfortunately we lost Wes. What was that? 2015?
2015. Yeah, I won't forget it.
Yeah, and I thought, well, that's the end of the Scream series for sure. And also I love Wes. My idea was there's a copycat somewhere else, not in Woodsboro, and they bring Sydney in as a expert in this situation, because they're doing the same. That's basically my idea of how they bring Sydney back. Not that it's happening to her, but maybe it was a way of bringing her back out. I don't know. Anyway, what about you, Seth?
I don't know. I mean, I came up with my own little story idea a while back, but I'm not gonna get into that. But
why not?
Huh?
Why, we're friends here.
Hey, man.
Hey, come on. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You want to give my shit away?
Screenwriter.
It's not that good, trust me. Anyway,
did you see Scream 3? It's got to be better than that, buddy.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like if Kevin Williamson was the one that was going to be directing it, I'd be very excited. He is a director. I feel like he is the only person who could take over for Wes.
Robert Rodriguez could probably do a good job.
Yeah. But so right now I'm not overly excited. I really like Ready or Not, so I think it's in capable hands. I don't know where they can go story wise. We'll just see. I'm sure my mind's going to change when the first trailer drops and I piss myself with excitement.
Well, they've got a really great time. If they get it out by next December, it's 25 years from the release of the original. That is perfection. That not like perfection. The movie would be perfection, but that's the greatest time to do that would be on an anniversary, just like the Halloween movies were releasing Halloween 4 in 88, H2O 20 years later, which gave it an awful title. And then the last
Halloween Water.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's great to do it like on a big anniversary. And that's a huge anniversary, and it makes me feel old as fuck. Thanks a lot, Chris Hall. But anyway, I don't know. I'm kind of reserved as you are, but I've always had my thoughts of how to continue the story, even before Scream 4 came out. What about you, Keith? Any ideas?
I just don't want it to be a relative. That's my biggest thing. I don't want another relative. Okay. I want Stu back. I want him to do the Scream 3 that they didn't do. But
yeah, I would bring Stu back.
That would be great.
But if not that, I do like the idea of it not having to do with Sid, but she somehow gets mixed up in it. Or maybe she's trying to be, like, she hears about it and she tries to be, like, the hero of it or something like that. Like, her character has changed so much and she's become more stronger after 4 that she's trying to stop it from happening to other people instead or something.
Yeah. I think that'd be great, a way to get her into it instead of making it her movie, and maybe even a way to pass it on from her, even though I don't think it's a Scream movie without her.
It's hard to even imagine it without, because she's so
Right.
intricate. And like I said, the story, like you even mentioned, we didn't bring it up on 4, that part where she actually goes after him across the street when he murders the first girl.
Yeah.
And then that part where she crawls out on the window, out on the roof. And I mean, she's taking charge. She's basically, she's not totally afraid of this anymore. Like, she's really like, you know, fuck you guys.
Get to the fucking point. She says that. She even says that.
Yeah, I've done this
all before. Yeah.
Oh, I love that part where she's like, yeah, get over it. Who did she say that? She says that somebody with Billy and then were more. No, Brandy says that like Billy and more was more original, or
Yeah.
But yeah, she says, yeah, get to the point. I've already heard all this shit before. I think it's in the third one, isn't it?
That's the
She
third
said
one.
that?
Yeah,
that's the third one.
he gets really fucking pissed off about it.
Yeah.
They both scream
The
fucking
mama
at
boy.
each other.
Yeah, blah blah blah. I've heard this shit.
No more secret origins though. I don't want any more. That's what Scream 3 was. I don't want that for sure. But Jared, you have
Can't
any
be
ideas?
connected to her.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I have a very good motive that will bring her back if something were to happen.
Now, are you in a withhold like Seth over here? I guess he's trying to be the screenwriter.
No. Dewey's gonna die in the first act,
Oh,
and that's gonna what brings her back.
That would do it. If
I
Dewey
would-
were
I-
killed. Or if Gail
Gail.
killed, she would come back to help Dewey.
Yeah,
would-
basically either or.
Yeah.
I
in
think it
my
would be
opinion.
Gail because Courtney Cox is. I don't know that she would be in for. But although
She just seems like she has a more of an emotional bond with Dewey versus
She does.
Gail.
Definitely.
I don't think Dewey should ever be killed, because that's the whole
I
kind
don't-
of.
I don't
Because
either.
he keeps getting damage all the time, and he keeps surviving it. That's kind of the running theme of it. That he's
One of the
best
more
parts of
nerve
Scream
damage.
3 one of the best parts of Scream 3 was that he's standing at the top of the steps, aiming the gun, and the Ghostface throws the knife, hits him right in the head.
Yeah.
I love that part.
I do like it too, where Randy's like, oh yeah, what is with the limp? You got stabbed in the back. And he's like, severed nerve.
Which is fine by 4.
He's just like, stop asking.
Yeah. So, well, Scream 5's happening. Sounds like regardless of how anybody feels, I'm excited overall because I like all 4 movies generally. Even 3, even though it's the low point, but every series has a low point. And I gotta be honest, this is not the lowest of all the. I mean, it's no Jason Goes to Hell, or Jason X for that matter. So, or H2O or Resurrection. So it's. Then again, it doesn't have the staying power. Well, it does, because this is one of the longest running horror series of all time now. We're talking about 24 years. So I'm excited about it. I hope they it's not just a one-shot deal and they make one more and that's it. And I really hope they don't ever remake Scream, although I'm sure at some point we're going to get a remake. I don't count the TV shows either. They're not technically remakes. They're very different.
Yeah, they are.
From the movies, which I actually watched the first season of the first one. I actually liked it, except for everyone was beautiful, which really bugged me.
And
Like
then
even the sheriff in town, he was he was probably playing like a 40-year-old guy in his mid-40s, but he had to be no older than 25.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, it's MTV. What are you gonna do? Anyway,
Another.
is there any final thoughts, Nate, on the Scream series? Because we're never talking about it again.
Never.
Not never.
Again, like you talked about watching them all. I watched all 4 on Mother's Day, and
Oh, you watched them all in one day?
I did. And the thing
Oh,
is,
wow.
like, I'm usually too fucking tired and old to be doing that shit. Like, everybody talks about marathons.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, if I'm like, hey, I'm gonna watch the Nightmare movies, I'm asleep before Johnny Depp's dead. But that's just how I am. Like, I sat through all 4 of them and was excited to put the next one in. And I was satisfied every one of them. They're great. I think people need to, if you were one of those people, I really think it comes down to that anything popular, because that's how horror fans are. We're outsiders. So anytime something is accepted by the mainstream, we think, fuck that. It's not punk rock anymore. They're not playing the dive. I like it anymore.
That's why I hate Halloween. No.
But yeah, but it's like these movies are better than people want to give them credit for. They're very, very good. And they got a
they're
great
extremely
cast.
good.
And I think Sidney Prescott is arguably the best final girl. I said it. I love Lori. I love Nancy. I got to go Sidney.
You love Kirsty. Come on, give her throw a bone.
I can't go with Kirsty.
Come on.
Kirsty doesn't count.
She
But-
played Pinhead like a
Pressure of
Stradivarius.
worlds.
Come on.
Well, she did, but it ain't even on the same level because that movie's not even hers. It's a
That's all right. Uncle Frank's.
yeah.
You remember Come to Daddy?
Yeah, it's Frank and Gloria or whatever her name is. So I just think Sydney, out of all the characters we've seen, she's had a very interesting arc. We've seen her develop through it. It's not just all of a sudden she's a badass and she's hunting them down. I could see them going that route in Part 5, but I just think Nev has done a fantastic job.
What's your favorite kill in the series? That just popped up from Nick Wood.
Favorite kill?
Yeah, so we'll do final thoughts and favorite kill.
Go to somebody else on final thoughts. I'll think about it.
All right, Keith, final thoughts.
I'll say something I forgot to mention in Part 4. They don't show any kind of voice changer at all. Like they don't show.
I think it's hooked up in the mask. I think
is it part of the camera?
I think
they have an app on their phone.
There's also
too.
an app on. Yeah.
Do they show that? I just watched it. I don't remember seeing an app or.
I swear I saw them tear the voice changer out of the mask. Somebody did that.
They pulled the camera out to record the kills.
Was it a camera? Okay.
Yeah, because I know in the MTV series there's an app.
Yeah.
No, because one of the girls joked at the beginning of Part 4 that they had an app to talk like Ghostface.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they just okay. I must have just missed that. There was another thing I freaking forget. Anyways, favorite kill is probably the pole to the detective's head, just because it's one of the more like visual kills. A lot of the other ones are just you don't really see much, but that's because of the studios.
What's yours, Nate? You got it?
I gotta go. My
kill.
favorite is Billy Loomis. There's that great line of, "This is where the killer comes back for one last scare." Not my movie. It's a great line, great ending.
And it led to a rash of everybody being shot in the head. So.
Yeah. So great talk, guys.
Thanks, Nate.
I'll see you 2 days from now.
All righty.
Yeah.
All right.
Topic unknown.
Bye.
We'll get there.
All right, Seth. How about you? Favorite kill and final thoughts. What do you got?
All right. Favorite kill is gonna be Randy, just because it really shocked me when I first saw it.
Brutal.
Like all you guys, I was really taken to that character. He wasn't, like a lot of horror movie characters where they survive one movie and then they die in the beginning of the next. He was throughout. He was a big part of that that cast, and when they do that, it just my jaw dropped. I respected the fact that they had the balls to kill a main character. They haven't done that since in the Scream movies. They haven't had the balls to kill major characters since.
Well, he was our guide and the character's guide.
Yeah. And as far as final thoughts, Scream was a big deal when I was 13 and 14. It came out. Everyone was talking about it. I loved it back then. I remember, actually, my first experience with Scream was my dad worked at a movie theater, and he was a projectionist, and I was waiting to see, I think, Liar Liar, and I was up in the booth.
Awesome movie.
I was up in the booth, and I was watching some of Scream, and it was just at that moment where Drew Barrymore's rising up, and Ghostface turns, and my dad came up behind me and scared me, and I jumped, and he laughed. So I'll always remember that too. But Scream is it's such a good horror movie. It's very fast paced. It's one of those that didn't need a sequel. I felt like, as much as I love this series, it would work perfectly fine as just a one shot movie. But I love part 2. So like I like part 1. I think part 1's the better movie in the series, but part 2's my favorite, if that makes sense.
I hear you saying.
But yeah, no, I love these movies. I watch them a lot. My kids love them. Yeah. The end.
The end.
The end.
What was your favorite kill?
Randy.
Okay. Yeah. My kids, my son got Ghostface shit all over his bedroom. Not literally feces, but posters and such.
I wouldn't judge you.
Jared, what about you? Final thoughts and favorite kill.
My favorite kill is just basically my favorite cameo appearance, which was Patrick Warburton in part 3. The stalking security guard Dewdrop. No.
Dewdrop,
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, when you think about the entire franchise, what is it? Like 70% of the kills is just a stab to the chest, into the stomach. It's not that original. So I mean, it's kind of hard to say. There are some really good ones that kind of, the hanging up of the boyfriend was obviously a good one in part 2. But yeah, that was one thing I noticed rewatching all 4 of the movies. Like, there's not really really inventive kills. It's just fucking getting stabbed in the chest or in the stomach, and sometimes
That's why
maybe
they call
in the neck.
the movie based on the Woodsboro murders Stab.
Stab.
About a killer with a knife.
But like, as far as like final words, since we'll probably put this franchise to bed for a little while
until the next one comes out, probably.
It was one of those movies that came out that transcended horror. Like, it's definitely not in my top 10 of all time. It's probably not in my top 20 of all time.
Well, we have the list. We could always look it up.
It might be in my top 25. I might give you that.
I'm gonna look now.
But just how clever it was, and like we talked about it before, how socially aware it was with all the ideas and just the horror genre itself. It's one of those movies that comes around once in probably a lifetime and will never be properly remade. You can make a sequel for it, but if you ever remake it, I will never fucking watch it. And I thought I said that for Pet Sematary, and I watched the remake. Jesus
we'll
Christ.
watch the remake. Everybody will watch the remake. Nathan has Scream at number 9. Keith has it at number 4. I have it somewhere. 41. Seth, let's see, it's 21. And Jared, it is in the middle somewhere. It's after Dead Alive. I couldn't tell you because you didn't number yours. You're a savage. So
make us do the work.
I make lists.
You are a savage. You're not a list guy, really. Final thoughts for me. It's a great series. The one thing I remember is growing up with my little brother and introducing him to Michael Myers and Freddy and Jason. And this was the one that kind of was ours together. And the first 3 especially, I took him to see the third one on opening night, actually. And I was so worried driving to the theater because I was 20 and he was like 12, and I was like, I don't know if they're gonna let you in. I kept saying that to him. I don't know if they're gonna let you in. And he's like, what about you? I'm like, well, I'm of age. You might have to wait in the car. Yeah, I had older brother teasing shit. I was worried though because it was the first time I'd taken him to an R-rated movie, I think. But anyway, I took him to see Halloween Resurrection the next year. He was pumped after that movie. He's like, let's write our own, and we did. Anyway, I love Scream. It's a great series. It did reinvigorate me as a horror fan who kind of died with the 80s because most of the movies in the 90s, Silence of the Lambs, I never thought of it as a horror movie until I was an adult. And Candyman I didn't even like until I was an adult. So I love the Scream series. I like each one of them. 3 is definitely the weakest. I think the first one is the best one and is my favorite. I know what you're saying because Nightmare on Elm Street 4 is my favorite of the series, but Nightmare on Elm Street's the best. And also, it's weird.
Oh, yeah.
I get what you're saying, though.
It's personal preference.
Yeah. And I also absolutely adore Halloween 6. So
we can always agree on one thing, though, that Courtney Cox's bangs get worse in each fucking movie.
I don't get what they did to her. It looked like when she's in that in 3 when she's having that little, speech and she has her hair pulled back. It's like, what did she do to her hair? Like, I didn't know that whether or not she had long hair or not. I thought it was like completely short. Anyway, Scream's a great series. My favorite kill is from, let's just say, the one from Scream 3 when the guy blows himself up and blows up the house. That was cool. It was the most different kill, I think, in all of them. But because although I like when Jill shoots her boyfriend who cheated on her in the nuts, which was pretty fun too. Overall, the series is great. I want to thank everybody for coming out who watched with us. It seemed like we had a lot of viewers today. We need that every week. Otherwise, we're going to shut the whole show down. I said it. If we don't get 10 to 20 to 30,000 people watching a day, we're not doing this anymore. No, it was a good time hanging out and talking Scream. It was great watching the movies again. We do not have a topic as of yet for this week, this Thursday. So if you have any suggestions, we'll ask on the Horror Syndicate on Facebook. So don't forget to follow the Horror Syndicate on Facebook if you don't already, which you probably should. And I also want to send a special thanks to Chris Hall for the awesome fan art, I guess is what to call it, but that sounds like it's degrading almost. But he took the album cover from Appetite for Destruction from Guns N' Roses and did it for the Horror Syndicate, which was amazing. Thanks for the homage. That is not a ripoff, as some jerk said. So, again, thanks for watching. For Jared, Nate, Seth, and Ghostface. Oh, Keith's back.
Hi.
You notice. Have a good evening. And,
Michael's back there.
We'll see you. He's a little thin in the legs, isn't he?
He is. He looks.
Yeah,
really
he's a little skinny.
He missed leg day a few times. Anyway, you guys have a good evening. We'll see you on Thursday. Stay safe.